Good day. So today we're going to discuss about structural steel high strength bolting inspection. Probably the topic that I could discuss for today is drawing references and documentations, required testing prior to installation and after installation, and some probably necessary important information on the job that I could show you some photos with it. So just a recap. I'm just gonna show you some slides regarding this kind of inspection. This is for just a reference from the American Steel Manual. So this is regarding a bolt that you could reuse after installation or after tightening it. So because before some of the guys they just gonna tighten and loosen the bolts, and for some they don't know that they cannot reuse it, or they can use it as long as it's approved by the engineer of record, as it was stated right here. So the galvanize and twist of the nut like a TC bolt, zinc, aluminum, and organic coated A325, ASTM A325, you cannot reuse it. Then when approved by the engineer of record or the designer, black, it's a plain black ASTM A325 bolts are permitted to be reused as per this reference book. These are the ASTM standard for high strength bolts. So if the bolts that you're gonna inspect on the job is not listed or not marked with these specs, with this standard, it's not considered as a high strength bolt. This is the bolt sizes reference. So the bolt length measurement is from the bottom of the head to the very tip, and the head should be labeled, engraved with the ASTM standard. Here's the sample of the markings and the required test. So this was the reference. Arbitration test. So we could discuss this on the next video. This is a lot to discuss here. So you could, or probably you could, yeah, read and see if you could figure out how to do the arbitration. The arbitration is only used when there's some non-conformance thing that you have encountered on the job. If you don't have the torque value to tighten the bolts, something like that. So it should be also one of the necessary procedure that you could use just to go on with the inspection. The inspection is section 9. This is the holes, standard holes that you could put the bolts in between structures. It's another reference. And this is the pre-installation, the testing for Skidmore tests. This is the reference, table 7.1, the pre-installation verification. This is the type of bolts. This is the size, diameter of each bolt on each type. You got the Kips value. So it's a pound, thousand of a pounds for the Kips. This is the installation tension, table 8.1. This is the turn of the nut, reference point for your hex bolts. So if it's not a twist off or a TC bolt, this is the procedure that you could use. This is the length. For each length, it's 4 times the diameter, or not more than 4 times the diameter. Bolt length, this is the number of turns, 1/3, 1/2, 2/3, depends on the installation axis, and this and so on and so forth. Okay, so far that's the recap for the this kind of inspection. And then let me show you some. So when you go to the job site, first thing to ask is the drawing reference for you to have to know what kind of bolt is it. So the bolt type and specs or size, you can see that from the general notes of the structural steel drawing, the structural drawing, I mean, or in the details. And some documentation like the mill test report for the bolts, you need to ask that for you to review and to compare the lot number. So let me show you some photos from the job. So these are the photos. This is the size, the type, the specs of the bolt, 10-inch, 3/4, I mean, 3/4 inch diameter by 2.5 TC assembly. So this is the lot number. You need to take note of this. And when you encounter to have the bolts on the can and the container, at least you need to verify that everything is lubricated, shiny, and make sure that they're using a clean bolt so that when you turn the knot, it will continuously roll up to the last thread, the last teeth of the bolt. This is the markings, 8325, these bolts, and other stickers. So these are the stickers that I took. And this one, sometimes he was confused that when they call for inspection of bolts, this is not referring to the high strength bolt. This is what you call the anchor bolt. So this is the difference. Anchor bolts are embedded in concrete, precast, or another type of inspection to do the anchor bolt is the post-installed anchors. So you can identify the embedment, the length of embedment, and epoxy or the adhesive that they're gonna use. So this is not a high strength bolt. This is a anchor bolts. Here's the bolts. This is the TC bolts with the twist off, sheared up tip. It means it was tightened already. This kind of installation, you need to note this because this is very difficult to tighten it with this torque gun or impact wrench, impact gun. So you need to note this from the drawing or note this in your report, where there's no way for this to be tightened unless they're gonna use a hexagonal bolt to turn it with the wrench or an open wrench. This is bolts when they use it as erection bolt. So erection bolt is that when they only setting up all the steel members to fit the bolts, they're not gonna tighten it, or they're just gonna snug it a little bit. So be noted and be keep an eye on it so that where if they tighten it, they cannot reuse it unless it was approved or unless it was a black. And well, this is a TC bolt where if they tighten it, they're gonna twist off the tip and it cannot be reused again. So be aware of that because sometimes these guys don't really know what they're doing. Probably the guys is new or the guy is a pure labor and doesn't know when he tighten it, or maybe he's just lazy. He don't want to go get another set of bolt. at the storage where is like it's a time for him to walk or climb. So be mindful on it of it. Again, this is anchor bolt, not a high sprint bolt. This is another sticker. This is a hex bolt with the markings K325. This is the torque gun, impact wrench, impact gun. So this is how it was long to tighten a certain bolts. So you cannot tighten it if it's not gonna fit in a certain installation. This is the turn of the nut method. So I mark the bolt and the nut. After they snugged it, I have to mark it and turn it like 2/3, 1/3, whatever it is on the table. Turn up the nut. Yes, turn up the nut. Yeah. Yeah, just remember each size of the bolts, 4 times the diameter times the length is gonna be the equivalent length for each bolt. So there's an equivalent turn after snug tight condition. This is when I'm testing the between surface. So you can see how thin is my ID. It means it's in solid contact between steel to steel. And this is one of the drawings that you could see in the job. Just the size of the bolt diameters, the specs, and the length. And this is for the holes. So for 3/4, you need 13 and 16 holes. So sometimes it was slotted and sometimes it was standard. The slotted is like when you can play with it, play with the bolts so that it could match the assembly holes. So sometimes it depends on the drawing details. This is a sample of the galvanized bolt A325, so you cannot reuse this once they have tightened it. And then these are my markings, like the non-conformance thing or the work in progress that I need to come back for, and the marking drawings. All right, so that's it for today. Hopefully this will help as an additional information. So bye for now.